that out of the way, let's go ahead and talk about this Mavericks game between the Timberwolves and the Dallas Mavericks. A little bit repetitive, I apologize for that. But this was a really good game. It was full of scorers, and it was full of really, really difficult shots. In the beginning of the game, Anthony Edwards played phenomenally. He ended the first quarter with, I believe, 24 points. This was the most he's ever scored in a quarter in his entire career. And along with Julius Randle, they were great early on, but Dallas was able to keep this game rather close up until the very end. But aside from that, Julius Randle, he ended the game with 20 points, 7 rebounds, 7 assists, and then Anthony Edwards ended with 37 points, 6 rebounds, and 3 assists. The final score, however, was 114 in favor of the Dallas Mavericks. Now, how is it that Anthony Edwards scored 37 and they still lost? 2 words. Kyrie Irving. Kyrie Irving had a masterclass of a game in the second half, and it was a much-needed masterclass for the Dallas Mavericks. And Luka could not get a three-pointer to fall in this game until it was time to hit the final shot. And Luka Doncic ended the game on a dagger three-pointer, and that was the only three-pointer that he ended up making in this game. He shot 1 for 8 from 3 and 10 for 27 from the field. Very, very inefficient. But, Kyrie Irving, he did what he had to do in this matchup, and he ended the game with 35 points, 13 of 23 from the field, and 6 of 8 from 3. Again, a much-needed masterclass coming in from Kyrie Irving to seal this win. And some other key players in this game, P.J. Washington ended up going 7 for 13, 3 of 6 from the field. Daniel Gafford did not miss a single shot, went 6 for 6 and 2 for 2 from the line. And that was the other scores for the Timberwolves. They were there. It's not like they did not have anybody coming off the bench that didn't score. However, DiVincenzo has not been a really good asset to this team, or as good of an asset as I thought he was going to be with this team. He's 1 of 6 from the field, and he shot 1 of 5 from 3, which is a little bit uncharacteristic based off of what I was seeing from him on New York. And the rest of the players, Naz Reid ended the game with 14 points, 5 of 8 from the field. Jaden McDaniels ended with 13 points, 6 for 11 from the field. And Nickeil Alexander-Walker ended the game with 4 for 7 from the field and 11 points. Now, obviously, this was not enough to deal with Luka Doncic and that dagger that he hit in the end. The game was close. The Mavericks were up by 1, and then Luka Doncic sort of had to put the game away with that final shot. And that's just what Luka Doncic does. Now, I picked the Timberwolves to win this matchup. I thought that they were going to, try and get revenge on the team that ended up bouncing them out of the postseason and preventing them from making the finals. But, of course, because I was the guy that picked them, that did not end up happening. And, of course, on the day, I ended up getting 2 games wrong. Of course, it always happens. It's always, at least you got to get 2 games wrong. Always. I don't know what it is. I don't know why this happens, but it's I can never go perfect. It's always just that 1 or 2 games. I don't get it. And this was one of those games that it really, really shocked me towards the end. Because, again, this was winnable. They 100% could have won in this matchup. They really could have. And it was all the way up until the end where the game was rather close. And, Anthony Edwards, while he did score 24 or something in the first quarter, the rest of the game was a little bit mediocre for him. Compared to what he did in the first. But then again, what he did in the first was absolutely ridiculous. So, really, you can't blame Anthony Edwards, and you can't blame this game on Anthony Edwards. Finishing with 37 points in 37 minutes, that's more than enough. Not to mention he shot 7 for 13 from the field, which is also more than enough. But the team as a whole, from an individual standpoint with this team, it doesn't seem like they are really taking or making that many threes. They did shoot 48% from the three-point line in this matchup, but Anthony Edwards was one of 3 players, actually one of four players, that ended up taking 5 or more threes. Now, Julius Randle made 3 of his 3-pointers, which is great. But from the field, 7 for 13, it didn't really seem like I expected him to take a little bit more shots than that. But again, I'm not going to knock Julius Randle off of having 20 points because again, that's very impressive. But this Timberwolves team, they might be a little bit worse without Karl Anthony Towns. And go figure. I mean, the Karl Anthony Towns has been on the roster for the longest time, and now this is the first time that they don't have it. And I'm really I'm incredibly shocked. Like, really, I'm super shocked because it's like, what on earth is this? Like, this genuinely does not make any sense. I'm actually gonna blame it on the Kyrie Irving masterclass, honestly, because like he just went off in the entirety of the second half, and it's like it's really tough to guard Kyrie Irving, especially when you have a team like this whose only real competent perimeter defender is Anthony Edwards. And even then, there are times where Anthony Edwards' defense does get tested, mainly because, he spends a majority of his time on offense and he doesn't have the stamina to produce it, right? But, most of the time, this would, I don't think the Timberwolves, they really have enough scoring power in order to match up against these Mavericks. Like, that was really the big issue in this game. And what makes this even, not necessarily all that much crazier, but what makes it even worse is that Klay Thompson in this matchup did not have a very good game. He shot 2 for 7 from the field and 2 for 7 from 3 for 7 points. So, just imagine what they could have done had they, just imagine what they could have done had Klay Thompson actually had a pretty solid scoring night. Because, he was missing a lot of shots. This was one of his off days, and we've come to get used to Klay Thompson having a couple of off days, but there are going to be games where he doesn't have these kind of off days. And I really don't know why I ended up picking the Timberwolves in this matchup. In hindsight, it was such a dumb move. It was really I don't know why I just can't get all of these games right for once. I just want one day where I get these games right. And speaking of not getting games right, we're going to have to go into a break and then talk about the next game on this list, which is the matchup against the Warriors and the Pelicans. Now, I said that I was going to pick the Pelicans in this matchup, and of course, I should have known better. And this one is even more shocking. Like, the loss in this matchup between the Pelicans and the Warriors is even more shocking than what I first thought. So I'll be right back after this short break to cover that. Be sure to stay tuned.
Looking for your daily fix of sports talk without having to pay for it? GSMC Sports Network is available on YouTube. Just search GSMC Sports Network. Get your fix of daily sports talk shows on YouTube, absolutely free. NFL, college football, NBA, MLB, MMA, UFC, fantasy football, and so much more. GSMC Sports Network has shows running all day long, with new sports shows starting every 2 hours. Just like on your favorite cable sports channel, except GSMC Sports Network is absolutely free. Just search GSMC Sports Network on YouTube to catch one of your new favorite shows, like the GSMC College Football Podcast, Chip Shot Football Podcast, Hoops and Heels Women's Sports Podcast, GSMC Basketball Podcast, and so many more. Check it out for yourself. GSMC Sports Network, now available on YouTube absolutely free. Search GSMC Sports Network on YouTube right now.